Hi all, it's the 24th of September 2024 and we are monitoring this area of thunderstorms and showers which is predicted to form into a tropical cyclone, and the National Hurricane Center are now predicting it to make a landfall in northern Florida at major hurricane intensity. Let's check out the latest infrared imagery. From the satellite is GOES 16. The system currently does not look particularly exciting. It's weakly organized with weak winds, but there is a lot of convection located on the eastern side of the circulation center. Before today, I did not even know there was a Cayman Islands weather service, but here it is. Kind of a nice webpage, very blue. This is their radar loop, and you can see all those showers it's piling right into it, all that convection on the eastern side of the system. Thunderstorms are visible on this radar, but it shows no clear sign of the center of circulation. Just very weak rotation may be visible. So what's going on here? Well, here are the European Center surface winds for the current time at 6 p.m. here in Australia. And you can see all of those thunderstorms. We saw that coming in over the Cayman Islands. You can see that that is actually to the east of the circulation center, which is quite large. Weak winds closer to the center. That's getting more like around 30 knots, getting close to tropical storm force, but I think the National Hurricane Center have it at 30 knots. So the issue, one of the issues the storm is having is that there is an upper level low up here. And we should see that if we lift the altitude up to, let's go for what we got here. Go for 5,000 meters, 5,500, and there you begin to see a bit of circulation going on here, which I guess is what they're talking about. It doesn't look particularly pronounced, but this is impacting the slight shear building in and pushing into the storm. It's pushing that convection off to the east side. Yeah, it's definitely more apparent if we lift up to 200 hectopascals. That's at about 11.7 kilometers. And here you can see that it's more like an upper trough really coming down and then coming up like this. And that's impacting on the storm system, which is somewhere in here at lower levels. But this situation is going to change. The storm is going to come together according to the National Hurricane Center, and we're going to see why now. And I'm going to show how to do this. This is actually yesterday's, what do we got here? NOAA 20 VERS satellite image. You can see the circulation here with all those thunderstorms on the eastern side. Now I'm going to add some layers here. This is NASA Worldview, and I'm going to go for sea surface temperatures. If I go for sea surface temperatures and sea surface temperature anomalies, that's the difference from normal. Nothing's going to come up. When you do this, you won't see anything come up, and that's because it takes a few days for the sea surface temperatures to get analyzed. So we have to go back a day, well, a few days, let's say 2 days. And here we see the sea surface temperature anomalies. I'm going to go to the sea surface temperatures first, turn that off. Now, what we've got here in the Gulf are very warm waters. If I scroll my mouse over this area, you'll see the chart in the left, which indicates it'll have a little marker on it saying what the temperature is. And when I do this, you'll see it go up to 30, almost 31 degrees. There it's over 31 in this area. So it's very, very warm. And these temperatures are above normal almost through most of the Gulf of Mexico. The only places where it's a little below normal are some tiny little pockets off towards the west. But this storm is forecast to come up through here. It's already over waters that are warmer than normal. It's going to come through and it's going to encounter these further areas of warmer waters. These are about 1 to 2 degrees above normal. And the other problem is this upper level low that's been shearing a little bit and keeping it weak. That is not going to stick around. Particularly, look at these winds up here. We're going to see those shift towards the north as we go forward. Now these, I'm still looking at going back to the winds at about 11.7 kilometers altitude. So right up in the upper troposphere. So I'm going to go forward. Let's click it forward and see what happens. So you'll see these winds, they gradually move north and perhaps providing a bit of outflow to the storm, and they shift over Florida. At this time the storm's going to be tucking through this gap, which is known as the Yucatan Channel. And so that's actually, yeah, so you can see now the winds are lighter over the storm system. The wind shear will be less, and that will favor intensification. So what about the forecast? Well, let's first of all bring the winds down to the surface using the little thing on the right. This is on windy.com. And so now we've got the surface winds in the European Centre model. Now this model is pretty coarse resolution, so we're not going to get to probably see a good indicator of the actual peak intensity, but it will give us an idea of the track of the storm. And we'll move over to the higher resolution model in a second. So as we go through, we're actually going to see the center get very close and actually over the Yucatan Peninsula on the tip, and that's pretty much right over Cancun. But the storm at this point has not done its big intensification. That's obviously going to bring a lot of strong winds and heavy rain to that area of Mexico. And then the storm moves up into the Gulf of Mexico, where we know it is very, very warm. And we're going to see the storm gaining more symmetry as it moves up towards Florida. The EC is European Centre model is intensifying it only not too much, and then at the final moment actually it does pick it up. Let's zoom in and just check those winds. Now these are going to be underestimates because of the coarse resolution of the model. I'm going to check the hurricane wharf in a moment, but this gives an indication of where the European Centre model wants to put it, and it's putting it right in towards this corner of Florida. Actually, before looking at the hurricane wharf, I'll just take a quick look at the GFS, see where it puts it at the same time. Oh wow, okay, so the GFS is a little bit forward. It's bringing it into the same location, so track confident, but a little bit earlier. All right, let's check out the hurricane wharf, and this is it. Now this is a storm following grid, so it's always going to be centered over the low pressure. But as the low pressure moves up, we'll see the coastline shifting around. This makes its movement. So this over here are the Cayman Islands, and this is the initialization at, we got 06Z 24th of September. As the storm moves up, if we see the greens are indicating tropical storm force sustained winds, and the low pressure center picking up. This is now a strengthening tropical storm. It seems like it's keeping it at peak winds of around 50 knots, and then it picks up a bit more. A little bit concentrated as it moves through the Yucatan Channel. Now here, what we're looking at, the Yucatan Peninsula on the left, and then we've got Cuba to the west here. So the circulation is in the hurricane wharf. You can see it is a little bit to the east of where the European Centre model had it. Hurricane wharf tucks it through, and that is the moment that it's beginning to show hurricane intensity already. As it gets up above 64 knots sustained. That's when you start seeing those purples. That's hurricane strength. As we move forward, the storm strengthens. Oh, okay, so this is indicating rapid intensification of the storm, a rapid drop in pressure. The hurricane wharf is very keen to intensify the storm quite quickly to major hurricane strength at this point. It's already major hurricane strength. You can see two triangles in there that indicates over 100 knots, making it at least a category 3. This is a category 3 storm. The hurricane wharf is picking it up quite a lot, and looks like it really wants to intensify this a lot. It's a very low pressure of 921, and now it does look like we're looking at probably a category 4 in there, and then perhaps keeping it at category 4. What do you reckon? It is making it what looks like to me the model is wanting to simulate a category 4 landfall. So we'll check in on the intensities. It's the same area, and the timing is what we got, 21 UTC, Thursday, September 26th. Looking at the tracks of some other models included, then we've got actually a pretty tight coupling of the models at this point, taking it into that area, into the essentially the eastern panhandle of Florida. While it looked like the hurricane wharf was taking it into category 4, overall the intensities in the various products are leaning up more towards category 2 or 3 at landfall. But in the previous cycle guidance, it was actually in 0 UTC. That must be the hurricane wharf simulation I was looking at, because that then takes it up into category 4 at landfall. So regardless, that's why the National Hurricane Center is putting it as a major hurricane approaching land. So kind of a strange thing has happened, which is the National Hurricane Center have updated their chart, and now the M has disappeared. So it says no major hurricane. But this is the crazy thing, right? That's because they're doing it at specific times. So this one that comes in, they have to do it. What is that? So 12 hours. These are every 12 hours. So this one at 8 p.m. Thursday, 12 hours after this one, that's after it's made landfall. Well, it's making landfall. It's just at the land. So it's actually weakened a bit. And I was looking at this, I thought, oh, they backed off. Well, it's backed off maybe just a dash, but it's still a major hurricane at landfall. And you can find that out only if you go to the discussion. Then you'll see in the fine print that they explicitly mention this. So here we go. Let's find it out. Where is it? Right. It should be noted that the 72-hour forecast, that's that one over land, allows for a little weakening after moving inland. So the cyclone is still expected to be at major hurricane in strength at landfall. So there really should be an M there, at least to indicate that it is going to be a major hurricane landfall still. So I want to be completely clear about this because it is a bit confusing. But so a major hurricane is category 3 or higher, and you can see that that starts at 96 knots. If I go back to the discussion, you'll see that there is no 96 knots in their chart. It goes 90 to 95 inland. But what they're saying here is that during this period, the storm will be intensifying and it will go over that threshold between these two times. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here and move on. And thanks a lot for watching. Please join our Discord and subscribe.